If I knew then what I know now, I'd never let you
Welcome to a new
go.
edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with legendary jazz vibraphonist Terry Gibbs on the 2023 Terry Gibbs Songbook Project. He opens up about this tribute to the unparalleled talent of this legendary jazz icon. At 98 years old, he proves that age is just a number with this album and his energy. Produced in collaboration with his Grammy-nominated percussionist son, Gerry, and featuring lyrics from luminaries like Steve Allen, the album showcases Terry's mastery of crafting catchy, beautiful tunes. This album is a must listen for any enthusiast and a fitting tribute to one of the greatest vibraphonists and band leaders of all time. This is the second time we've caught up with him. He's always a joy. We cover this album and so much more going on in his life. Enjoy this interview.
Hey, Terry, I think we're on. We're good to go.
Okay, good.
It's great to hear from you again. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's fun. I really, it's at my age, that's the most fun thing I like to do is do interviews and talk to people.
That's wonderful.
When you get to be 99 years old, that's all you want to do is just talk about the fun things you had in your life,
Absolutely. Well, I remember our last interview very, very well. There were so many wonderful stories and anecdotes. It's one of my favorite interviews, so I'm so happy to be able to dive right back in here with you. So what I want to start off with is, this album is quite a retrospective and accomplishment looking back on your life. How does it feel?
You know something? I am as happy as I've ever been with any CD I've done, because if you read the liner notes on it, this whole thing was a fluke. It was just, I had a song in my piano bench, and Alan and Malin Bergman, the guys, people wrote all the whole thing. They wrote the whole thing for all the lyrics for Yentl and Johnny Mandel and Michel Legrand. They're the two most lyrical writers, and they were going to write a lyric to my last song I ever wrote. And then, unfortunately, Marilyn died, and it's just a whole story. It'd take a half hour to tell it. But if they buy the album, they can read about it,
So what about the players that are on this? You got a great ensemble. Your son's orchestrated a lot. How do you feel about the players?
Well, actually, my son, I love my son, but all he did was help me with the engineering and editing. It was I had the idea after that I got the okay to do a CD. I knew what I had in mind. I come from the school of Lester Young, and then playing with the Woody Herman band, having Stan Getz, Zoot Sims, and Al Cohen, and then my own band, Richard Kamuka, Bill Perkins. I like that style tenor playing. So I wanted two tenors, and there's only two tenor players, or three that I know that play that style, and I got the two I was looking for. And you always have when you produce an album, there's your first choice and your second. They're all good. Every play you hire is good, but I got the two guys I wanted, and both of them played so great. So sometimes I get confused who's playing, because they come from a similar school. They got their own style playing. And it's wild about both of them, because they're just such great melodic players. And so I was so happy when you're not everything is done in you do it in segments. You do a tune here, you do a tune until it's edited, until it's until it's mixed and mastered. And when you hear the master of something of the idea you had, come to the ending, and you say, wow, it happened, Am I'm as happy with this as I've ever been with any CD without playing on it.
But the thing about it is that this is still you, and it's still your music, and it's still, you're still in the forefront after 98 years. How does it feel to not only have this legacy, but you're still remaining relevant, and everybody is still diving into your music?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a wild summer, Joe. In 2 months, I'll be 99. But when people ask me how old I am, I really don't tell them in 2 months I'll be 99. I say, in 14 months, I'll be 100 years old. I really zing him in the head with it. Well, it feels, let me tell you, anything that you do that I've ever done, to start with, 9 times at a time, I've recorded about 80 CDs. 9 times at a time, I never like what I do. After I hear it, not till about 3-4 months later, then I listen to it and I say, God, that wasn't bad at all. Because you always think you could always do better, you know? When you're playing, you always feel like, give me another chance. But that's why I record live most of the time. 9/10 of my albums are live. I don't want to hear what I play. I just want to play. I want to have fun playing. When I get on stage is my most fun time in my life.
You know, and the one thing too is I'm thinking from my perspective, and you know, I'm only 50, and I keep thinking when I hear about people that make it, you know, to that 98 point, what has been the key to you to staying around, relevant, and young at heart? How has that happened?
I think my mind has been very active all my life. You know, when I was conducting television shows, I worked with comedy writers, guys like Woody Allen, these great minds, and I like humor. I love humor. And when you work with these type of guys, it's like going to a jam session. I go to the comedy writers meetings. I had to write cues here and there, and they're throwing out lines. They're writing skits. You know, nothing. It starts with a closing and then the beginning, and they like my sense of humor. They let me throw in some lines, and they like what I have to say. So I think keeping my mind busy most of my life. I've been on the road for 80 years, Joe. I've been a professional musician since I've been 12 years old.
Wow. So with this particular album, I'm curious, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Happiness. I hope they like the melodic part of it. I hope they like what the two tenor plays and Danny, the singer. You know what's wild about the singer? You know, how I auditioned was I had Neil Weiss, the guy who owns the record company. I wanted to get him involved in sort of way. I said, do you know how many singers on your label? Because he was giving me a chance to do something without playing. And he sent me this kid, young guy, he's about 40 years old, and he sent me his thing, and all I wanted to hear were two types of songs. I wanted to hear how he can swing and how he can sing a ballad. So I listened to the record, and you know, if somebody sings a Tony Bennett song that he made famous, or Frank, and you can't help but sneak a little part of what they do into a song. So a lot of times on Danny's album, he sounds like this guy, but all I wanted to hear was, you remember the song, Is You Is, or Is You Ain't My Baby? That if you can't swing that, you should be a shoemaker. And then a ballad he sang, Sunday Kind of Love, and I gamble with that thing. Now, on my album, he can't sound like anybody because nobody ever sang these songs. So he came in and he did what I asked him to do. This guy, he's a very talented kid. He's an actor. He's a singer. He plays all the reed instruments. He tap dances. He does a lot of shows. And so when we had our first rehearsal at my house, after we sang the first song, I stopped and I said, Danny, here's what I want you to do for me now. And being an actor, he takes direction. Now, I never tell anybody what to do, actually, when I hire them. I let them do their thing. I said, Danny, take away... Now, by the way, you're not performing now. We're doing a record. So take away the music right now and read that lyric to me, that love song you just sang. Just read the lyric. Now, talk to me. Now I want you to put the melody to it. I want you to tell me a story. And he really jumped in, and listen, we didn't have much time. He learned 18 songs in about 3 weeks. learning the lyrics and learning the melodies, that's not easy, by the way.
Danny's wonderful. I've interviewed him in the past, and he's wonderful. You know, and Danny is a part of kind of a crop of younger cats now. You've seen a lot of changes over your life in jazz. How do you feel about what's going on with jazz in this modern day and era?
You know what? I hate to put it, I'm not as happy as I used to be because I'm not tapping my foot as much as I'd like to tap it when I listen to music. I was very fortunate in my younger days. In my early 20s when I got out of the Army, I immediately, the club owners liked what I did, so I worked at Birdland 6 months a year. I would work out. I would be the baby attraction. It would be Duke Ellington, Dinah Washington, and Terry Gibbs. Count Basie, Sarah Vaughan, and Terry Gibbs. Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Terry Gibbs. And so I got to learn and I got to play. I had so much fun in my life, playing music. And that was the most important thing to me, was to try to get up and have fun. And I demanded that from all my musicians. Have fun. When we're not playing, we'll talk and I'll ask you some dumb questions. Well, just say something silly, whatever. And I'll be your best straight man if you have something funny to say. But don't fool with the music. Play the best play for me. Don't play for an audience. Play for me. So that's why I'm what I am.
So I'm curious, are you playing these days? What's going on these days?
No, I don't do anything. I am the best. I'm very busy doing nothing, Joe. I do nothing better than anybody living.
Oh boy! Well, you've done plenty, Terry, and this album is just a real solid reflection of what you've done in the world of jazz. So thank you so much for taking some time out today to open your book up a little bit more. And, we share the same birthday, so happy 99th.
What's your birthday? October 13th?
Yes, sir.
God, you and I really screwed up, aren't we?
We certainly did.
Boy, we're in left field somewhere.
I was born on Friday the 13th, too.
And I think this time it is Friday the 13th. It is, yeah. Isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, but that's a lucky day for me, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I love it. It's the day I was born, so I'm not afraid. I'm ready to go. It's a good day.
Good, Joe. Hey, it's great talk. I wish we would have done the Zoom show. It would have been fun. But this is better because I don't have to. I can stretch out on the bed or whatever I wanted to do. But I'm sitting up. But I'm sitting up having fun talking to you, Joe.
It's been wonderful, Terry. Again, this is a very memorable interview. I really appreciate your time. And best of luck, and again, happy birthday here in a couple months.
You too, Joe. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in California, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Terry for his time, energy, and continued cool, and for coming on back to Neon Jazz. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Together forevermore.
Neon Jazz.